owners of the copyright. You have the sound recorders. That can come as a result of the fixation of putting that work onto some CD or any kind of fixed form. Ownership can be later on with the performer, who in some instances is also sound recorder, or performer is a different person. This is really not cast in stone, but the whole point being that you will have different parties all contributing to the final thing that we hear out there playing as beats. The distributorship, which of course we emphasize is different from publication of the work. But you'll still have some instances where the publisher is also the one doing the distributorship. But you'll have a music artist entering into an agreement with either another individual who is going to be doing the publication, or a company which will be doing the publication and distributorship of the work in return for payment, which we call royalties. All these people have a say in the copyright ownership. You have the performer, the eventual person who holds that microphone and is the one singing all these things. They too have what we call a secondary right to the copyright, because they're coming in at the tail end to do the performances. So all these people come together and they form what we know as the band of rights, which you've already heard about. How can I generate money out of the music? As a songwriter, as a music artist, I wanted to pick a case study of TikTok generally, and within that, to use Easy's song. So just let me play this. Is not available, unfortunately. Problem with software. So when I place this video onto my slides, I use QuickTime, but it's saying QuickTime is not available on someone's laptop, so it can't play the video. So this is a compilation of TikTok challenges of Easy's song of what's it called? This Timbuza sound. Tumbiza sound. Yes. Tumbiza sound. Maybe it would be important. Can we try to? Can we? We can play the video. So. Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's called TikTok challenge. Apologies for that, it's a technical glitch. What I wanted to bring out here is when I first saw this video, the specific one that I wanted to play, I thought this guy is the one who sang the song. And of course it was making everyone laugh. Many of us, if you had watched it, it was very hysterical and it became viral. He was the song by Easy about COVID, lockdown, and all those things that went with it. But it kind of shadowed the actual person who did Easy write this song? Did he? Okay. He wrote it? Okay, so yes, it shadowed the fact that he wrote it and performed the original version. What am I trying to say? Is that go beyond. I mean, I'm echoing what we've really been emphasizing. Go beyond your role as a songwriter. And now the platforms are there. We're looking at the current trends that are supporting songwriters. TikTok is one of those current trends that is supporting songwriters. And what you can do beyond just writing the music. If you go into the performance, or even helping or controlling the performance through the reproduction rights and everything that goes with it, you use TikTok. So this is how TikTok works. It's an app, we know it's an app, where you can upload short videos, dancing along, lip syncing, etc. So you, the music owner, the question would be, is the music owner being cheated? Because this person is not the music owner. It looks the laptop power button is not on. Oh dear. How come it's not? Yeah. Maybe if there's another laptop we can use. But the point I'm trying to make here is, how does TikTok work? And as I was saying, TikTok is that app that is used to, people upload videos. So Easy, who is the songwriter and music artist behind Tumbila's Sound, is the one that uploaded that song on TikTok. So he's not really being cheated out here. Ordinarily, people have always said that we're seeing different faces doing things on TikTok. And where is the actual original artist? Where is the owner of the copyright? How does he benefit from all of this? At the end of the day, you see that TikTok has generated a huge music library. It's now a huge depository of songs, which are all uploaded. And whoever uploads their songs, such as Easy, enters into a licensing agreement with TikTok. And at the end of the day, each time a song is used and played, the owner of the rights, which is Easy in this sense, the person who performed Tumbila's Sound, receives royalties. And not the creator of the video, who is this person or any of those other people. So the music owner, the music artist or the music writer is still smiling all the way to the bank. And that's something that should be looked into, and how it can help you. So TikTok doesn't get as much money. TikTok, its revenue is mainly coming from ads and other software-related issues. But the music we're hearing playing, whoever owns it, gets the royalties, together with whatever agreements they've had with the writers and composers. So, so there are other ways, other than TikTok, there are many other ways of generating money for songwriters. The songwriter, the role of the songwriter should not really stop at the point of writing the music. The role of the songwriter should go into the point I started out, or what other rights, or what are the general rights in copyright that you have as a songwriter. And that stretches to many other things. When a song is performed which you've written, don't look at it as a song that's just going to be performed or heard on radio. It can also go into animations, where the music is used as soundtrack. That can also be revenue generating, not just for the people behind the performance, but as well as the songwriter. We've talked about caller tunes and callback tunes. Merchandising. Merchandising is actually a bigger, it's in the copyright world, merchandising is known as the biggest revenue earner for copyright owners, beyond even music performances and the like. Examples would be you perform a song, or you write a song and it's a huge hit. Let's say Easy has written Tumbira Sound. Now the title, Tumbira Sound, goes onto a cape. It goes onto a school bag. It goes onto anywhere you have it, that's the merchandise. And every time that merchandise is sold, there's a percentage that goes back to the creators, the people that wrote all this. If you sign the right agreement, as, what's this director for Star Wars? George Lucas, thanks. So George Lucas became a multi-billionaire. Since the first Star Wars movie came out in 1967, to this day, he's now retired. He's no longer a movie director. But every time you see any cap, shoe, bag, or any kit kind of merchandise that has the word Star Wars, he's taking, I think, 60 cents of every single merchandise. So this is a person who was approached to direct the first Star Wars movie. And they were going to offer him a paycheck. Then he said, no, I just want a percentage on the money that will be made out of each piece of item sold. And they're still selling to this day. God knows still when they'll stop. So merchandising generates a lot more. It is the records, the statistics, I've looked at this for the Star Wars movie. Of course, various versions of Star Wars have been made. And they've generated up to about 3.5, close to $4 billion since the beginning. But the merchandise has made $6 billion. So think about all that. Yes, you have a question? Yes.
That song called Due.
Mm-hmm.
Was the song done before the product, those merchandise used to know it was slightly different?
I think the song came before, isn't it?
No.
You did? Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, you answer that. Okay, I wasn't sure of that. So yeah, I mean, animation soundtracks, movie soundtracks, they all go together. You make a lot of money through that. That's a combination of different copyright roles playing out. Promos and adverts, Swags Avenue and what they do. Even here, Sikia, all that, adverts should generate money for the songwriters because you're writing music that's going to be used not just in performances but as well as adverts. Then, of course, the streaming. The other day I was watching one of Ed Sheeran's songs and I was shocked. 500 million views on YouTube. At first I was like, no, this can't be. But I've been watching so many of his songs, and you have more than country populations of people watching one person's song. So look at the generation, the YouTube policies and the agreements that come from it, and how that can also help songwriters. How else can you generate money out of the music? This is a new trend, using music as collateral. I don't know if you've thought about it. URSB launched it. It is yet to roll it out, but it is there. So what happens is, Uganda Revenue Services Bureau has a registry called SIMPO. SIMPO standing for Security in Movable Properties Registry. And intellectual property is one of those which they can register, and then you use it to go to a bank and borrow money. Sounds crazy, but how would that work? The procedure is here. If you own copyright, you'd open up, you create an account. The SIMPO registry people help you to open up an account there. What are the requirements? If it's a company, now we're going to discuss company issues. If you're a songwriter and you go to a music studio, I would imagine a music studio, I want to move away from a bias of Sikia and say this music studio is registered as a company, and they buy your rights to your music. Now that company would own the music, and the duration of the copyright is going to change by just that one change. If you were the individual who has written this song and you own the song, as you heard from Silva, it's going to be your life plus 50 years after death, the duration of ownership. But now if the company is owning the copyright, it's going to be 50 years only. That's what the law says, that for company ownership or when they're publishing works, the duration is only 50 years. If it's an individual, the life of that person plus 50 years after. So when you're thinking about commercializing music, that aspect of duration is going to be important and can affect how you market or how you commercialize your music. So certificate of incorporation comes in for a company. Certified copy of registration certificate, or let's say, you know, as you've probably heard earlier, you do not need to register your copyright. The minute you get a piece of paper, you have these lyrics burning in your head and you write them down. That's where your copyright is. Or when you grab your phone and you have all these words swirling in your mind and you record yourself, the copyright is immediately there because you've placed it into a fixed form. However, when it comes to proving that you own, you're not going to go with that phone and say, let me play it for you, and then the person hears your voice. Or you're not going to wave that piece of paper and say, I'm the one who wrote this. No, you have to actually go to URSB and register your copyright and get a certificate that proves that you own it. And after you have that certificate, that's when SIMPO comes in and you present to them the certificate and say, this is the proof that I own the copyright. And that goes with one of the requirements for them registering your copyright to use it as collateral. Again, if it is a company that is fronting this, if it's a studio that is run as a company, they would need a letter from either a legal officer for that company or any other person introducing whoever is presenting these documents to SIMPO. Then you create access to others to access your account, you pay stamp duty, and then your copyright is registered, and that connection of having your copyright registered through SIMPO relates with banks and other financial agencies coming in and saying, okay, this person has registered his IP, we can give him a loan. That's how SIMPO works. Last slide is on issues of due diligence when commercializing copyright. These can either help you commercialize your songwriting business or break you if you haven't followed these issues. We already talked about who really owns the copyright. Understanding the question of bundle of rights, where do you come in? The law really stipulates that you can't commercialize if you're joint owners. You'd need the consent or the permission of the other owners of the same copyright. Commissioned works, section 8. Silva has been singing that one. Company owned. Implications of company owning of copyright, duration matters here. And it's out of your league. You're not the one who's really going to be explaining things because you've already surrendered the copyright. And how that company ownership works is either if you've assigned, given full ownership, or if you've licensed, which is a better deal. when you license out your works, you're giving a stipulation as to what they can do, the extent to which they can use your work. This extent can even go as far as you can only use my work in Uganda. Outside of Uganda, I'll be able to be the one to commercialize. Or you can say you can use my work for music productions. But if it's performances at Lugogo, that's me. So you determine, you place the terms in your licensing agreement. Duration, I've already talked about that, the time frame left in enjoyment of copyright. And then the key issue many people play around with, copyright does not obviously mean money. And that's why I use this illustration. You see, these people seem to be doing crazy music production, and then someone says, they've got no talent, he sings off-key, they've got no rhythm, they look like slobs. I would say you've got a huge hit on your hands. So it really depends. I mean, the beauty about copyright is that it doesn't look at quality. I may sketch a painting and someone says it's trash, and another person says this is a work of art. Same thing with music. If you follow the story of, is it they call it Bohemian Rhapsody? You know that song by a group called Queen? Is it Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah, maybe I'm saying it wrongly. But this song came out, I think, in the early 80s. And when it first came out, the music producer trashed it. He said, this is hopeless. But today it's a hit. And it has been replayed so many times. They even did a movie called Bohemian Rhapsody, I think. Yeah, anyway, but copyright is in the eyes of the beholder. It's like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And when it comes out, don't always think, okay, I've written this song, it's going to be a huge hit. Yes, you've written the song, you have copyright, but that doesn't always equate to money generation out of it. So there are so many things you have to look at that would decide that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Doctor, for that insightful discussion. I don't know if you people have questions from the presentation that the Doctor has just made right now, but if there are any, you could write them on the pieces of paper and then forward them to me, and I'll read them out. We are going straight into the Q&A session, and I think I'm going to read out the questions and then you may be able to respond to them. One of the questions is, under what circumstances can a songwriter revoke? Beg your pardon. The first question is going to be, how can one continue to earn from a song once it's sold? How can one continue to earn from a song once it's sold? Okay, maybe we can be able to answer. Yeah, I think we should. Yes, okay. Okay then.
Yes, let me answer that one. It's very good that this question comes at this point, after we have had I cannot call it an exhaustive discussion, but I can say it's a substantive discussion of the rights that accrue. What we said in relation to earning from a work, it takes us back to understanding the nature of rights. There is a matter of fact nature of a work, which is the moral rights. The economic rights, the key word is they can be sold. So you cannot eat your cake and have it unless you only agreed to give away a piece of the cake. Like Doctor has been saying here, it's very important to know. Instead of assignment, you can go by licensing and you sell some of the rights, part of the bundle, and keep some. So if I am to understand the question by reading it again, how can a person benefit from a work that they have sold? If you have sold it thoroughly and entirely, then that means you cannot economically benefit. But if you're the songwriter, you can still enjoy the moral rights of attribution. Sometimes some facts and circumstances can dictate different, but generally, that's it.
If there are follow-up questions after that, feel free to still send them in. Someone is asking, someone says he is a member of UPRS, the Collecting Society, and he was required to submit some of his compositions. However, for the artist for whom he wrote the song, is not a member of UPRS, and UPRS has used this as an excuse not to give him his royalties. So he would like to know.
The court asked that the songs which we are claiming royalties and licensing over, are they which UB40 gave to PRS UK, which then under reciprocal arrangement entered into with UPRS when they were performed in Uganda? Are those the exact songs? Because we presented the agreements PRS UK had with UB40 and the list of the songs, but we could not prove that the songs which were performed in Lugogo were the ones which were assigned to PRS. So that goes back to the contractual matters, that when you are claiming that I need to be paid, is it the specific song that you wrote, and what were the rights in that song? Do they stop at the lyrics or even whatever followed after that?
Yeah. I'm in total agreement with Professor, and I would only add something small, but in a reference to another way I understood the question, or the wide language agreement that that can be construed as a commissioned work, then definitely you have nothing. And even if that artist is not a member of UPRS, it does not, give you any guarantees to get money, because money, even from a collecting society, follows the law. So it doesn't mean that if the owner of the property does not claim it, then so it doesn't mean that if a property to claim the royalties that accrue from the sound recording. I hope that that makes it clear.
The other question is, if I include lyrics from a folk song in a song that I am composing, am I infringing on anyone's copyright?
Very interesting question. I was going to actually add a slide on that issue, but I thought, well, we can just discuss it. This formed part of my doctoral thesis, using folk music and then going ahead to create copyright out of it, and that's how I first moved to. And then, of course, the beats that, was it Kawesa and Steve Jean did, that's all. But that is still copyright. And when the two gentlemen took this matter at URSB to try and stop the president from getting copyright, the then registrar, who is now the Registrar General of Masika Nowisho, ruled that the president is entitled to his copyright. He has created something new. The folklore remains. It is separate. Those poems are still there. Folk songs are still there. You're just getting something, creating your own new thing, and that is copyright on the use of folklore. But the law is being worked on. I know that for a fact. USB is working on coming up with a law where if anyone wants to use traditional cultural expressions of folklore, you have to go to that local community, get their permission, discuss sharing of royalties, but that will come at a later stage.
So should we assume that the folk songs also apparently belong to the public domain works?
Now that's the challenge. The local communities do not want to call them public domain, because that would mean anyone can come and grab. Local communities want to keep having some kind of control. Because like I said, this was my research, and I spoke to Stephen Ranjezi of Andere Troop, and he said people from Buganda Kingdom officials went and were saying, why do you perform this thing? There's a dance for the Mushroom Clan. Amagunju. that why do you perform it when historically it's supposed to be performed only in front of the king? Because the way Amagonji was created, there was a young king of about 4 years of age, was running all over the place, you kept crying, and yet the Luchiko needed to sit. And the only way the Luchiko can sit is when the king is seated, then they will sit and starts performing it. He kept the king composed, then the Luchiko started. Then since then, they said, Amagonji should only be performed in front of the king. Now you have all these dance troops performing Amagonji without the king being available. So the Uganda kingdom is saying, no, this should be only in front of us. So try and tell them now that it should be public domain. They don't want that. Yes.
Looks like we're in luck today. We are benefiting from doctor's thesis. Another question is, says, how as a songwriter do I lobby for bigger opportunities? How best can I package myself? How best can I package myself for the bigger organizations to be able to notice me and exploit my works? And what laws protect me from being exploited by these big organizations?
Well, this is both a legal question and also something else. Because if it is about packaging as a songwriter for opportunity, these are many things that must be considered. But like we've been singing today, if there is anything a songwriter needs to take away, I want to repeat, it is the provisions in Section 8 of the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act. The agreements which you enter are very important. Under Section 8, if you are a songwriter that is interested in being employed, the most important thing is that you are accorded the right environment to make an informed decision. You should know what you're doing. That if you are under employment, whatever you do belongs to your employer. And if you have an intention of cutting away some rights, then you should negotiate with your employer, and it should be in writing. The laws that protect a songwriter are the ones we have been talking about, and I am sure this question must have come in before we had this session, because we have almost exhausted the legal background to what songwriters need. But I must also add, like Doctor was saying, that having copyright does not entirely translate into money. You must also have the kind of mind that can make money sit, or the kind of mind that can attract money. If you are a hungry songwriter, even those that we today don't think there is a better songwriter or composer that has ever existed than Mozart. Mozart, for some reason, occupies that space, and every other one is playing catch-up. So, Mozart was a poor man, and it is on record that he did a lot of writing and composition because he was always broke. He was writing because he had borrowed some money. He was writing because he had, he had to pay up for something to get food or something like that. That can be a motivation. And if you're that kind of human being, yes, you can be a songwriter, and you have many moral rights to your name, but no economic rights. Remember, you cannot eat your cake and have it. And that is the attitude that I've seen a lot. You understand? Sometimes we want to wish away obligations in which we entered. A person finds you at your weakest, they negotiate with you, you sell your rights. And then the day they find you hungry, you sell your rights. After eating some food, wisdom comes and you want to change positions. It doesn't work like that. And like I want to re-emphasize that the law is simply the law. You can make arguments as a social worker or something like that, but legally, if you sell your rights, it doesn't matter. If you are the songwriter, you will grasp, even if you have the #1 hit. So packaging, it is part of what I see the Songwriters Association trying to do, so that people can learn from each other. The good news, you can always be useful in some form. If there is a songwriter that is grasping and has written so many good songs, we can still use them as a bad example, that we don't want to be like so and so. So, just be woke. Just be woke. Read section 8. If you want to be part of a company under employment, you know what that means. If you're selling your song to a musician, a popular artist, and you have not cut away any rights, or you have not made any agreement that retains some of the rights for yourself, then you're done. You just have to wait for another. Okay, I will answer a little bit about what happens when you die. Of course, the law says that you will have copyright even when you're dead. 50 years, even when you're dead. And if I want to tweak the question, I say, a person is saying, okay, I'll be dead, so what happens? Because I have copyright, but I cannot enjoy it because I'm deceased. So, the word deceased means that the person has ceased to be. When a person dies, the layer of laws that now govern at what we call testamentary laws, and we don't want to dive into that. But when you die, there are people that are entitled to your estate. There are people, and those may include your family members, immediate family members. So, in a word, what happens during the 50 years, if you have any economic rights? Remember, the moral right does not die, and it does not even get transferred to your family members, but the economic rights do. So, if you have any economic rights and you're dead, they will be treated just like other property. They will be treated as just like other property, and that will be for a period. We have copyrighted as a law. It is usually very, very easy to understand copyright. Because if you are two authors, then the general understanding, unless there is an agreement to the contrary, the general understanding is that each one takes 50-50, because you are two. And that is easy on the part of copyright in general. But when we go down to the economic rights, remember, these are rights, and like Doctor was saying, when we talk about this bundle of rights, it is in two ways. The first ways of unveiling the bundle is we are looking at the different rights that are in there, the different licenses that can be issued, coloring back tones, streaming, whatever, sync rights and all. Then also we are looking at the nature of individuals or parties that participate in the creation of a work. When it comes to a sound recording, when it comes for rights in the music work or in the musical composition, when it comes to the musical composition, it is very easy. It is usually one or two people. But when it comes to the sound recording,
I'm going to be pouring money into a lawyer or these things to take him to court. But let me bring this person to the round table. And as long as I can show him that I'm the owner of this work, let's enter into a licensing agreement. You want to use my work? Fine, but under my terms and conditions. So that he will continue using your work, but he pays you a percentage. That is now what many IP owners, intellectual property owners are doing, that they give licensing agreements to those who they find infringing their works.
We're slowly coming to the end of the Q&A session. Some two questions have just come in. What rights do I have as a soundtrack writer? And the other is what makes an agreement legal? Then I'm going to read this verbatim because I'm not sure I understood it. How do I compensate an artist when I feel like exercising my moral rights as an author? Is it by refunding the fees or paying each and every cost incurred by the artist, even in the recording? There are 3 questions that have been put to you. Yes, the soundtrack. 1 is, what rights do I have as a soundtrack writer? 2 is, what makes an agreement legal? And then 3 is, how do I compensate an artist when I feel like exercising my moral rights as an author? Is it by refunding the fees or paying each and every cost incurred by the author in the recording?
These are quite tough questions, which is good. Like the tough questions. How do you compensate an artist when you feel like exercising your moral rights as an author? Is it by refunding the fees or paying each and every cost incurred by the artist? Maybe I would get clarity. I'm trying to understand. You've written a song, and
maybe you can let folks write to get it. And now this should actually go back to what we have been discussing. Is that the law, yes, it is slightly unfair, but unfairness in this regard can only be subjective. The law says, yes, a songwriter retains the moral rights, even when they have sold their economic rights. And in exercise of their moral rights, they can be able to clearly pull back their work. In exercise of their moral rights. In fact, reading what the law says, particularly, to object to and seek relief in connection with any distortion, mutilation, alteration, or modification of the work. The author of the work has a right to withdraw the work from circulation if it no longer reflects the author's convictions or intellectual concepts. And if the author does so, shall indemnify any authorized user of that work who might in any material way be affected by the withdrawal. So, the law does not describe the nature of compensation. And some of the things, if they go to court, they become a matter of court to determine because there is no clear way. So it says, yes, you can withdraw the work from circulation. What it would mean, if I have, let me give you a case in point. There is a musician called Vicente Segal. I don't know if you guys know Vicente Segal. So Vicente Segal converted to Islam. When he converted to Islam, he made a statement. Lukman, yes. He made a statement, a public statement, telling everybody to stop playing or listening to his music and to delete it if they have it on any of their gadgets. Yes. Yes, so it's very good that we actually have a case in point. And what that would mean is that there are people who have accessed or who have purchased this music, meaning that they received it or they accessed it legally. Let's put it in a simple term. Today it is difficult to use that example, but I can use the example of, I went to town, I went to a legitimate shop or an authorized dealer, and I purchased an album of Vicente Segal's music. Now he has converted to Islam, and he wants me to stop enjoying something I paid for. Are you understanding it clearly now? So, now the rationale of the law. Bottom line, every time you listen to something illegal, there is an assumption that the law is tailored or is created for somebody who is reasonable. So if you're going to make any legal demands, they should be reasonable demands. So this provision of the law wants to give you a right, but also cuts away so that it keeps you in the boundaries of being reasonable. Yes. You can convert and change course. But like the moral right, if you wrote a bad song, you cannot clean yourself of it. But then there are scenarios. Some people do, for example, also architecture can be subject to copyright, can be eligible for copyright. You can build something under a covenant, or there can be certain cases that are entirely special, where such a provision would make sense. But bottom line, in answer of the question, the law does not guide on what compensation should be. And so that is usually a question that is left to court to determine. Yes, you have a question around the same? Yeah. Mm.
So, it's up to them to say that you have to pay the video to the bloggers you paid.
Yes.
And they want to
Yes. So sometimes some of these things are provisions that are intended to deter your being unreasonable. You know of a case they used to say about a chicken. If you say defamatory statements about an individual, this story is told of a person who said some defamatory stories about another, and then he went and sought forgiveness. Then the other guy told him, you know, it's okay, you just go and get a chicken and move a distance of a mile, plucking feathers and throwing them around. So that is the first step. So he went and did that. I said, I have done it, now forgive me. Then he said, yes, I will forgive you, only if you do the next step. Now you go and gather the feathers, and put them back. You see, it's usually a point of unreasonableness that the law intends to curtail or trivialities. But really, there could be scenarios where it's reasonable for this moral right to be upheld, but always the law aims to protect third parties. In Uganda, we call these salumanya. Yes. Salumanya, third parties, they didn't know, they had no idea where you're going with this. They achieved this piece of property legitimately, and your change of position should not unfairly affect them. So that is why the law gives and the law takes away. But in answering the question, who determines where the law does not guide on the nature of compensation? If it is a serious matter, then it has to go to court, and court will determine the nature of compensation. There was a question on what makes an agreement legal. This is a general question, and it's not just about copyright. Under the law, an agreement can be oral, or an agreement can be written. But certain provisions of the law or branches of the law dictate that for an agreement that is more, where the subject matter is more than 500,000, such an agreement can be in writing. But many times, if it is a question of whether the agreement is legal or not, sometimes you look at the facts, sometimes you look at the law, and many times they may even examine the circumstances. So, an agreement being legal is a wide question. But wherever you agree with somebody to do something, that is deemed legal. But the legality of an agreement now has to be tested on other things. Did you actually agree? If we say that we had to meet in Kampala, let's meet on Kampala Road, and I go to Kampala Road here, and another person goes to Kampala Road in Jinja. So we did not have a meeting of minds, so there cannot be an agreement. But for purposes of easy understanding, when you want to enter into an agreement, one person makes an offer. They say, I want you to do this for me. Then he says, what will it take? And then you make, you agree that it will take this, and then you accept the offer. He makes an offer, you accept the offer. I say, I want you to write me a song, and I say, okay. And then we share what we call consideration, which is money. Then there is an agreement. 3 things are important for an agreement. There is an offer. You cannot say that I sold you my song when you didn't come to me. There was no offer. I didn't offer to sell you my song, or you didn't even offer to pay me money to write for your song. So there must be a coherent story. You came to me, we agreed, and we shared what we call consideration. And the consideration, which is usually money, is very important. That is why we were saying, if a person comes to you, write for me a song, and I say, okay, yes, and they don't give me any money, then under the law, that is not commissioned work. There was no agreement because they didn't give me anything. That is the same thing. If you go for a wedding and make a pledge that I'll give you 500,000 and you fail to pay it, can the Mogole sue you? Why? Because they didn't give me anything. There was no consideration. So what makes an agreement legal are 3 things which you must look into. Of course, with other qualifications that I tried to explain, there are many other dynamics. First of all, the other dynamic, it must be legal. And this is a wide question. If you go to a person and say, I want you to kill for me a person, so that is an illegality that defeats an agreement. You cannot agree on something illegal. But if it is something legal, you can agree. In fact, I don't know if I see a lot of cases, because prostitution in Uganda is forbidden. So an agreement with a prostitute, can it be enforced in the courts of law? My answer would be no. Maybe other circumstances can be smuggled into the situation to try and legalize it. Yes, but in a word, there are 3 things that must be present. A person makes an offer, and an offer can be, I want you to write me a song. And I say, yes. Then you who wants me to write you a song, you give me money. So there has been consideration, and we have 3 things. Then that is a good agreement, but you must be able to understand that we are entering into this. That is the example I gave. We say we are meeting on Kampala Road and everybody is understanding something different. Or if a person says, I will give you, I remember when we were in school, this kid was told by our teacher that he was going to cane him. So you go down, I'll give you 2. So the guy went down. He was given 2, and he went away pausing. So the teacher was like, no, I meant dozens. So there was no meeting of minds. That is why this kid went down quickly. Quickly, he could afford to pause, but there was no meeting of minds. So I hope that has been answered. This one I need to, okay, somebody said they need to ask about the soundtrack. How did the question go? Yes, now that still goes back to the same thing. A soundtrack writer is actually a songwriter. Only that this time, they have fixed it in an audio, in an audio form. They have fixed it in an audio form. What it would mean is that they own both the music composition and they also own the sound recording. Yes. So this is where we usually get a problem. A lot of people think that always for music to exist, there must be lyrics. No. Hey. No. A song is complete. What makes a song is that there must be 2 things. Time and pitch. Time and pitch. From time, we get the rhythm. From pitch, we get the melody. That is what we understand as music. And that is why you see the guys that do rap. Sometimes they are not very good with the pitching or with the melody, but they are very good with the time. Yes, so that is what creates. So the rights that accrue to a person who is writing soundtracks are the rights that accrue to a songwriter, or a rights that accrue to a person, a composer. So that is where now we get the little difference. That is why the law talks about the author. It does not talk about songwriter. We understand. So the law talks about author, it does not talk about songwriter. So the rights of the songwriter are the rights of the author. The rights of a person who writes soundtracks are still the same. They're still the rights of an author, because it is definitely different kind of work, but it accrues the same, it attracts the same rights. Somebody who wanted to ask a question? Are you, the questions are there? Okay, maybe you can give, was it you? Okay. Maybe come and closer to the microphone. Maybe you could. Later.
You could just, excuse me, you could stand up.
Thank you so much. It has been a great day to me. I've learned a lot. Economic rights, moral rights, originality, etc. But the most interesting word for me today is the law does not protect the idea. But the law believes that Frank Kasozi in Lira can get an idea. At the same time, Katerega John in Kasese can also get an idea. And coincidentally, they can also decide to publish it at the same time. It's allowed. The law believes that. Now, before I ask my question, I have to give you 2 examples. The first one, back in the days, we had a man by names Jingosho. He came up with a song called Chikomando. You remember very well. Yeah, okay. So after singing Chikomando, in a few days we got another song called Chikomando by His Excellency Bobby Wine. There was some quarreling. They even reached at a stage of fighting. It was too bad, but it happened. So now, I want to look at the challenge about what I've learned today. Let's just assume that Chitakule is a songwriter. He has just landed in this business. He has just landed in this business of songwriting. He knows very well the laws according to the way you have taught us. He has composed his song. He went to the studio, recorded. He's having it in an MP format or wave right now. So he's now looking for a publisher to license him to publish his work. Emerson is a publisher. After taking that CD to Mr. Emerson, a publisher, he get time to listen to that kind of music. Unfortunately, among the singers he has, there is no one who can fit in such in that style of a song. But that Emerson has a friend called Simon, who is a performer or a singer. Emerson thinks that that song can work for Simon. He forwarded it to Simon without telling the... No. The publisher is the one who was sent to his friend, the performer, without informing the composer. Yes. After some times, We are at our home, we just hear a song resembling that of mine I composed, the one which I sent to Emerson, the publisher. I remember I didn't give it to only Emerson, since I'm looking for a market. I give it to different people. But according to what we have learned today, after Simon receiving that song, he thought that if we change something small, that song can work for him. But according to what we have learned today, to change something in my content, he has to first talk to me and compensate me. I think I'm right.
Yes, you get your authorization.
Yes, but the way he got my song, I'm not aware of it. He do his things somewhere and he published the song. Then tomorrow, I begin to complain that that song was mine. We go to the court. Simon claims that he's the one who composed the song. Maybe we get the idea at the same time, like Franka Kasoza and Katerega, how they did it. So how? Now the question is, where and when and how copying happens. Philosopher is my name.
I see. Now, philosopher has asked a very important question, but you have been able to take out a few things that we can split this question in 2 or 3. And the first one, let me begin with the last one. One of the things that you must know, that when you are going to make any legal sense or argument, you must address the facts and the circumstances. They must be very clear. And that is why this picture that we have painted, that philosopher has painted, we need to first assume it is the true scenario. I want to first of all answer the role of a publisher. A publisher's job is to help the copyright owner exploit their work. And by saying exploiting, I mean squeeze all the benefit, squeeze all the economic benefit that can come out of it through their connections. And also the other thing is that why would an artist who could be able probably to self-publish go to a publisher? Sometimes the publishers give you an advance. If you're a good writer and you are on a bad day when you're hungry, you write a song and the publisher feels it can be exploited better on another day with some patience, they can give you an advance, which is usually recoupable. Recoupable means that once they start getting the money, they first get the money they give you as advance. So one of the rights of an owner of a work is the right to make a derivative work. So a derivative work is the work that comes from my work. For example, if I write a song called Kakokolo, and I want to change my song from reggae to R&B, I don't need anybody's permission. If I write a movie script, and then I want to make a film out of it, I do not need anybody's permission. But if the script is not mine, then that means I am going to make a derivative work. And I must get a license to make a derivative work. So that is one of the things that I can understand from the question. The next question, from the same submission of philosopher, is if I get a publisher, John, to listen to my song, and then John, without my permission, exposes my song to another person who writes a song out of it, life can be easier if John actually accepts that I gave the other person. So now you can discuss on the modalities, how you benefit. But in the event John is saying, no, for me I didn't give the song to anybody. He has just come up with his song. Then you may have to adduce some facts to prove that actually John did it. And sometimes it is not enough to say that, of course, John knows Jane, so if Jane did a song like mine, then John must have given it to him. You understand? So there we have to examine facts and circumstances. You see, the law does not play God, and it does not claim to play God at any time. In fact, lawyering is one of the things that is taken very far from God, like I can say. Why? Because the law does not deal with the truth. The law deals with the evidence. So, if there is no evidence, you are legally cooked. So, some of these things will have to be argued on a point of facts and circumstances. Then there is an important question regarding two people coming up with the same song. I can give you a clear example of Vebiru Mabayai. Where did that slogan or tag phrase come from? Zex Biranjiranji. Somebody, who else? I have heard many. You see, the origin, the idea of origin is not stable. So, who should claim a slogan? If a person has a claim that is not impeachable, then that should be the person to claim a slogan. Now the next question is like a slogan or a word. The first question would be in relation to Chikomando by Jingo Show and Chikomando by Bobby Wine. They both used, what was similar in their songs, they both used the word Chikomando. Who of the two had monopoly to that slang? None. Because the slang was existing. Just like Eddie Wamala sang about Boda Boda. Yes. So that is where sometimes we get it wrong. Picking a word that is already existing and using it in a song, it only means we have been inspired, or we have picked from the same pockets of vocabulary. And but if a person comes up with their own statement, of course, under copyright we say what is worth copying is prima facie worth protecting under copyright or worth copywriting. But the limitations to this, of course, extend to the words that we use generally. So it may be true. And I can give you an example of Zikubebe Pua. There is a lady in church. I think you know this. What is her name? Pastor Sam. Yes. Pastor? Yes. The lady sang a song, and it became very popular on TikTok. Zikube Bwepua. Zikube Wagulu Bwepua. And then Eddie Kenzo picked the same, the same trend in the words and sang a song. The question, would there be infringement on copyright? Now, after what we have learned, that is something that has a little bit of bone. Because Zikube Bwepua is not just, Zikube Bwepua was the hook of this, yes, was the hook of this song. But the difference between Zikube Bwepua and Chikomando, Jingo Show was not the author of the word Chikomando. But Zikube Bwepua, the pastor, is the author of those words Zikube Bwepua. So, it's a question that I take back to you. After learning a little bit about copyright today, if the pastor chose to go to court, would they succeed? And also the other thing that you should be able to know, under copyright, if a person does not claim, it is still okay. You understand? If I have mangoes, if I have mangoes, and the bypassers keep picking my mangoes, and I'm happy about it, feeding the public, that is still fine. Of course, it is different if a person now breaks into the house, because now that is robbery. And robbery has nothing to do with whether the person from whom stuff has been stolen has accepted, because it is a criminal offense. So you cannot say that I allowed people, or I invited the thieves in my house, so it is okay. You let them go. But that is the scenario. It is okay. Sometimes you create work, and that is where we have some theories that we shall learn later. I don't know if you've heard Creative Commons, or the copyleft theory. Now you see we have copyright, but then there is a copyleft theory. And from the copyleft, this is where we see the Creative Commons. Under the Creative Commons, you can be able to use their work as long as you acknowledge, or sometimes their licensing is a bit blanket. And like you people who do soundtracks or whatever, you've heard of these platforms like Audio Jungle. You put your work there, and a person can go and pick it. They pay just a little money. So there are many ways how people exploit works. But bottom line, if you're looking at finding liability or infringement in copyright against a person, the first thing is that before you start raising alarm, you must ask yourself, are you the original creator of the word you want to claim or the statement that you want to claim? In the event that that is not true, then you may need to reassess and go slower. Yeah, I think that answers your questions. Is there? Yeah, and actually that is also important. It's an important takeaway. A lot of people assume that the law is fair. No, the law is not fair. The law is simply the law. Sometimes that is why today it is fair to you. The next time it is fair to somebody else. Sheila. Yeah, but they may coincide. There are times when the law coincides with the truth. But if the truth and the evidence meet, the law will go with the evidence and leave the truth.
A round of applause for our Executive Director. Thanks for the elaborate discussion with Dr. Tujos that he stepped out briefly. Once again, I would like to thank all of you that have spared time to be part of the conversation, to be part of the discussion, and to you, our audience, thanks for being very lively. I am going to call upon the President, Uganda Songwriters Association, to say something.
Thank you, Council Sheila, for the work well done. Please, tumukubireko mu ngalo. Literally, ekintu akikwasaganyiza bulungi. Yeah, we are very happy. And to everyone, like the working team, saba abakulu abo era nabo tubakubireko mu ngalo. Thank you so much for the good work. And of course, to the Copyright Institute, we are very, very humbled by the service that you have rendered. I should call it free. Yeah. Naim Badendoza, I would find a better word. Not only to package it right, but to make it sound a little more of weight. Yeah, because a workshop where we've come and had our intellect sharpened, our knowing edified, because what I realize, it's so many concepts that we have learned today that actually have sparked off a lot of decisions into our heads today. And to me, I think it's still worth a statement. Good morning. And to the executive director, wow, words all used would mean less to the kind of gratitude that we carry within our hearts, that we still have a very good place in your heart to be thought of. I realize you have toiled, you have gone through a lot with artists, and with the kind of achievement that you have achieved along the way, you would not need so many hiccups and headaches from artists anymore. But I want to thank you for you have actually kept us beloved, and you've had us for this kind of offer. Please, thank you so much. And we are praying for the longevity, that you may see the good results of all your deliberations. I know so many people here, just like your dream has been, to see that you empower as many as yesterday I was trying to, there is some interview that I watched. This is so much apolitical, it is only a lesson. They were asking one of he's called Mufumbiro, the one of NUP. Yeah, he was telling, he was trying to, they were trying to interview him, but he said the only reason as to why he has stuck around Bobby Wine, it is only because he is the only person who has actually proved to him that he could take a bullet, yeah, for so many others who have turned into Bobby Wines. Yeah, that he was willing to take a bullet, but only after he has trained so many, yeah, to become Bobby Wines. So I would think, Council Silva, your legacy, I know the talented make records, but the legends, they make legacies. I am pretty sure with the kind of legacy you have laid, your legacy shall always live on. Yeah, we have been told to give flowers to people when they still exist. I would say, you, whatever you have done in the shortest time, it is something we can live on to tell our children that there once lived a man called Silver Kyagulanyi, and we are what we are because of you. Thank you so much. Basically, I would love to end this with maybe throwing a word to all of us. I come to realize that there is a statement that Councillor Silva made very early in the morning. It sounded very, very, but I should say it. He said, Chitwala amagezi okutegeera obusiru. So, it's so unfortunate that not so many songwriters are here, but it is very important to note that you who is here, you're the most important. And in a way, for us to learn or for you to qualify that you're learned, you only have to put in practice what you have learned. So I therefore call upon you to use the wisdom that you have acquired today. Okuzuula obusiru. Ya olekeraawo okolera mu busiru. Are we together? And this sparks off, it's not a war, but it is a contention on whoever knows, or on whoever doesn't know how great we as songwriters are. Yes? And this runs through, for example, the CMO that is responsible for us, for example, in particular, that is UPRS. We get to realize that apparently, with all avenues in the country, it is because it is in the Copyright and Neighboring Acts 2006. It is provided for as a monopoly. You understand? And there is no any other avenue of collecting royalties apart from the UPRS. So, don't you think we need to stage up a very steady and firm fight for it to take its rightful grounds? So, I believe with the kind of knowledge that we have acquired today, after knowing what kind of rights that we have in the particular pieces, and after knowing that we are the mothers of this very beautiful fought-for industry, it's high time tosula muggo kwonoona mwana tuyimukiremu. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you for those beautiful words. He goes by the name John K. the Writer. Yes, that's his name. His as the songwriter. Oh, okay. Please.
Whatever we have learned in consideration as moral-minded to our president and our patron, as writers, we had agreed that today at least we shall get something more of a template to help us, guide us. So please, remain
Okay. I think I deserve to say another round of applause for our presenters today. They did a really good job. And like Senior Counsel said earlier, you don't need to be a lawyer for you to be a copyright expert. So for those of you that are here today, I'm sure you have your friends, your fellow songwriters that were not able to make it to our premises today and maybe did not follow the conversation on social media. So you could tell them about it, tell them what you have learned, tell them what you've gotten to know about copyright law and what rights you have. I'm going to invite Anne Niwagawa to give us closing remarks and say something to you, our songwriters. Yes.
Maybe to answer that before Anne speaks, we even have a course here that we want to run. And the course, we have a course, it is called Copyright X. It is a certificate course, and the certificate is awarded by Harvard University. And we're supposed to be teaching it here. So if you'll be one of the lucky beneficiaries, that would be really a good addition to your credentials. But also what you mentioned is something that we are supposed to start considering now that the chief of our staff here is going to speak. she may address that a little bit too. And also in the pipeline is we want to create this template that we're saying. We want to offer publishing services. And I believe when the time comes, the songwriters will be one of the first beneficiaries. The biggest benefit is that you manage. We have a kind of an arrangement. It could be a percentage arrangement, which does not burden you, but then you get an arm's length support from the Copyright Institute to handle your legal matters as far as copyright is concerned, meaning that even claiming your rights from these different bodies and stuff like that, that would be another layer of burden you can offload from yourself and put it on the Copyright Institute to do. But that is also in the pipeline. So I believe the future, we only need to ask for life, but it looks brighter for all of us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Councillor Sheila. I've been watching you the whole entire time, shining with the microphone, and I was wishing it was me, so it's finally my time to shine. My name is Niwagawa Ann with an E, and I have a very beautiful privilege of working with the Copyright Institute of Uganda. I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you for making the time to come and be a part of this, the people that are here as well as our online audience. We have had very insightful presentations as well as discussions, and we have really learned so much. Personally, something that I have picked from what Councillor Sheila and Councillor Silva said, that you don't have to be a lawyer to be a copyright expert, and I can testify that I am one of the people that are living by that concept. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for making time to be a part of this. They say information is power, so I believe that we are going to go away today as very powerful people. So I would really, after today, I am considering, taking on songwriting as a career. I pray that Councillor Silva can trust me with his next song, but yes, I am having the thought. Of course, the journey of learning about the copyright law is not something that we can conclude within 1 day or 24 hours. So I'd love to ask that we continue this conversation and discussion on social media. We are in the 21st century, so, social media is the thing. So I would love to request that we take it on social media. We can continue to ask all these questions, continue to give in our submissions, and so on and so forth. So we would love to connect with you on social media. Please follow, like, share, and all those things that they do on social media. We are on Twitter. Our handle is @Copyright Uganda. Well, I'm reading this, but they are also written on the booklets that we received. On Twitter, we go by the handle @Copyright Uganda. On Facebook, we go by Copyright Institute of Uganda. And on Instagram as @Copyright_Institute of Uganda. So please connect with us online. Our social media platforms, that's the place where we post all that information about the courses, the events that we have, and so on and so forth. So please like, follow, and we promise to connect with you and follow back as well. So as I conclude, this has been a very amazing day. I don't feel like stopping, but I mean, because of time, we have to return to our other engagements. But like I said, we are not going to stop, and we will definitely continue this on social media. But again, thank you very much for being a part of this. Oh, yes. Okay, let's humble ourselves. Oh, before the prayer, John K., I think your submission is a very great one, and we promise to take it into consideration. I mean, we need to go away with something that's evidence. We are lawyers, so lawyers work with evidence. Am I correct? Yes, so we need to go away with evidence that we are copyright experts. Let us stand up and humble ourselves for a word of prayer, for our closing prayer. Almighty Father, we thank you for the gift of this beautiful day. We thank you for this beautiful presentation and workshop that we have had. We thank you for the amount of creativity that is in this room, oh God. We thank you that you have allowed us to emulate you and be a part of creativity because you are the greatest creator that there is. You created the skies, the moon, the sky, the mountains. We thank you so much for being a part of this today. We thank you that we have seen your hand and your blessing in this workshop. We continue to pray that you be with us as we continue this journey of educating creatives about their copyrights. Thank you so much, Father. In Jesus' humble name I have prayed. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Of course, the workshop has ended with those ones, and I am very happy